There are many overpowered weapon options available to you at the start of the game, but you actually get off the boat with the deadliest weapons of them all, Alpha and Omega. Fists, they're my fists. We'll be doing this run as a pure monk because that feels the most thematically appropriate for a maniac punching his way into the prophecy. His name shall be Chipmunk because hand-to-hand is nuts. Of course, we pick Breton with the tonsure hairstyle because what other option is there? To keep things interesting and more restricted, we won't be using any of our miscellaneous skills except at the end when we need to use Sunder-and-Keening on the heart. We'll be going with what the in-game monk class gives us. Major skills, hand-to-hand, unarmored, athletics, acrobatics, and sneak. Minor skills are block, marksman, light armor, restoration, and blunt weapon. Since the only blunt weapons we're going to be using are these two flesh maces right here, marksman and blunt weapon are useless, but that's quite alright. Our specialization by default is stealth, and that should give us a boost to our hand-to-hand and make it level up a bit faster, and our favorite attributes are agility and willpower. The in-game classes don't have a birth sign associated with them, so we have a free choice. We're gonna go with the lover because we're a monk of Debella, baby. We need some starting cash to buy some restoration spells, so it's off to Caldera. Let's just get rid of this constricting shirt first of all. There, much better. While I go about my Caldera routine of thievery, let me explain how hand-to-hand works in Morrowind. Each swing deals damage to your opponent's fatigue first. Once they're depleted of fatigue, they collapse onto the ground and your punches start doing health damage. In vanilla Morrowind, the fatigue damage is equal to 1/2 your hand-to-hand level before factoring in critical hit multipliers. When punching a collapsed or paralyzed target, you do health damage equal to 7.5% your hand-to-hand level, which is then modified by how much armor your opponent has, reducing the damage to as little as 25%. It's very weak, and it doesn't take into account any of your attributes. OpenMW modifies the equation to take your strength level into account because why wouldn't it? How strong you are should affect how hard your punches are. Listen, this is my second go at the run. The first time around, I didn't use OpenMW's modified damage formula. All it did was make killing the down targets take way longer. It's not harder, it's just more tedious. So we're using OpenMW's version of hand-to-hand damage. If you're already in the comments complaining that this makes the challenge too easy, get over it. One drawback of restricting myself to major and minor skills only is that I can't use on-cast enchanted items. Every time you use an enchanted item, you get an itty-bitty bit of enchanting experience. So we'll need to rely on potions and scrolls for teleports like Mark, Recall, and Intervention. We can get some of these scrolls from Gelbadir in the Balmora Mages Guild. Scrolls don't grant any experience, so we could buy a bunch of powerful offensive scrolls and still beat the game as a fisting monk, but that wouldn't feel in the spirit of the challenge, so any scrolls I use will be purely utility. Now Karya of Whitehaven sells Mark and Recall potions, but before we check in on her, we're gonna go buy some useful spells from the Balmora Temple. The truth is, monks aren't just fighters and they aren't just lovers, but they also understand the power of a healing hand. From Lathino Hlalu, we'll buy Magic Guard, resist magicka 20 to 40% on self. And from Larara Omain, we can buy a Fortify Endurance spell, which, in the spellmaking menu, lets us create a spell fortifying any attribute. We might need a bit of personality later, and since we can't just bribe people, since that would level our speechcraft, this or Telvanni Bugmusk is our only option. A bit of charismatic flair for our hunky monk feels appropriate. 100 points for 1 second. 1 second's all we need. The second spell we'll make is resist magicka 50% for 1 second on self called Wear the Boots. We're a Breton with a baseline 50% magicka resist. You might see where I'm going with this. It'll make sense soon. I grabbed Rest of St. Maris from Tellus Salvani. It's a weak restore fatigue spell, but if I've learned anything from these last few videos, if that green bar is even slightly empty in combat, people will say something about it. Now Karya's shop is over in what you could call Balmora's Cloud District, but I don't get here very often, so I'm not sure how the locals feel about that. Anyway, now Karya sells a wide variety of potions, specifically potions of Mark and Recall. There are also vendors who sell scrolls of Mark and Recall, but now Karya has a large gold pool, and she'll buy the Master Alchemy set we swiped from the Caldera Mages Guild, feeding 2 birds with 1 stone, you know how it is. She also has a restocking supply of exclusive restore health and fatigue potions. They're pricey, but by casting Charismatic Flair before opening the shop with her disposition really high, her prices drop. Is it cheese? Probably, but like, come on, look at this face, how could you say no? We can also sneak near this guard and steal her Grandmaster, Pestle and Mortar, without anyone noticing. We can't sell it back to her, but we'll find a vendor somewhere. There's a bunch of alchemy tools in these crates as well you can steal if you stand in just the right spot. I'm gonna end up dropping a lot of this stuff though because it weighs a lot and finding a vendor with enough gold to buy this stuff is kind of tough. Actually, it's probably not tough, I'm just not aware of who it could be. It doesn't matter though. Gold is really easy to get in Morrowind. Now let's join the Fighters Guild to take some of their fatigue and health potions from their chest and then we'll return to the Mages Guild to sell some of the stuff we stole from Nalcaria to Ajira. She doesn't carry a lot of gold, so we can't sell everything, but we can at least sell the cheaper tools. I checked the other Mages Guild halls to see if I could unload these stolen goods to any other alchemy merchants, but none of them had enough gold. Before leaving Vivec, let's grab a few scrolls of Undusi's Unhinging. I don't know who Undusi is and why he's so unhinged, but we can use these scrolls in lieu of leveling security, so that's convenient. To satiate you monsters, I'm making an even better restore fatigue spell called Reinvigorate. 10 to 20 points per second for 10 seconds. It has a 58% cast chance, not that great. I'll need to train up my restoration a bit to make that better, which is why I also made a really weak restore fatigue spell. 1 point for 38 seconds on self, costs 1 magicka, so I can cast it several times before needing to rest or drink a potion. I can cast it while I'm walking around. And who knows, maybe the slow burn of this effect will be useful in combat at some point. Time to get some new shoes. Outside of Caldera, to the northwest, past this naked Nord and this sneaky orc, is a Dark Brotherhood assassin. Well, time to show off hand-to-hand, I guess. You punch the person over and over until they collapse onto the ground, and then you start wailing on their butt, blood splattering everywhere, until they stand back up. Once they do, give them another big ol' swing to the noggin and get back to work on their butt. Why the butt? Well, it seems character models and their hitboxes aren't lined up too well when an NPC is on the ground. You can actually punch the air above their butt too, but you can't punch their torso or legs when they're sprawled out. The game seems to treat their hitbox as a cylinder that's standing upright even when they're laying down. Punching their crotch/ass just removes the guesswork because that's where their feet would be. Notice how little damage I'm doing? Without OpenMW's changes, this is what 100 hand-to-hand would look like as well, or at least just about. With 100 hand-to-hand, the most damage you can do without a critical hit with a fully drawn back fist is 7.5 health. Not a lot of damage. I'm gonna take this assassin's pants and gloves. I like the look. And Chipmunk's knuckles are probably sore after this fight, so he can use some padding. Oh man, this just bums me out. Anyway, past the Nord and the Orc, there's a Redguard woman named Pemini. She asks that we escort her to Narmok and she'll reward us with her fancy boots. But we could also just kill her and take them. But I'm a monk. Killing is wrong. I would never kill anyone. And our first level up is during this trek to Narmok. 2 to strength, 2 to willpower, and 1 to luck. Why not speed? Speed won't be an issue soon enough. Whoa, she's so fast I couldn't even read what she said. Yeah, so quest done, and she gives us the Boots of Blinding Speed. Light armor boots with 2 constant effects. 200 to speed, and 100% blind. And you thought the game was dark before. In vanilla, the blind effect actually boosted your accuracy rather than reducing it. OpenMW fixes this bug, but the quirky thing about constant effect items with negative effects is that your magicka resistance reduces the strength of those effects without affecting the positive effects. Bretons have an innate 50% magicka resistance. Pair that with the 50% magicka resistance spell we created earlier, and we'll have 100% resistance. But the spell only lasts 1 second, I hear you say. Yes. However, the negative effects of constant effect items aren't reapplied until you remove the item and then re-equip it. This means we only need 100% resistance when we equip the boots to negate the blind effect. 200 extra speed at no extra cost. Feels appropriate, no? Fast, punchy monk. Now, we're ready to get on with the main quest. Caius Casades, I'm gonna say Casades because Hercules, Casades nuts. Anyway, Caius Casades, my brother in shirtless arms. This is where it all begins. If you want to know the story in more detail, check out my marksmanship only video, but only after watching this video, or come back to this video after you watch that one. We go to Arkingthan to get the Dwemer puzzle box for Hasfat and Tibolus. We could zoom by Snowy Granius, but it feels wrong not to fight him. Unfortunately, a cliff racer decided it wanted to join in on the fight, so while Snowy's chucking lightning balls my way, depleting his own magicka, I'm ducking and weaving and throwing texture shots at a dinosaur that isn't technically a dinosaur, but you know what I mean. Now here's where hand-to-hand really shines and why it's so damn fun to play. It's not super powerful, but it's stupid. As tedious as combat can be with how weak your punches are, this makes it worth it. Get back on the ground, old man. I'm beating up this animal. It's just so dumb. I love it. I feel like a bully. Into the ruins and up the slope. Up the slope. Go up the slope. Okay. Breton dragon skin for some damage reduction. It probably doesn't matter. Not too tough, actually. Once you get their fatigue down to 0 and they fall, the fight is basically over. One interesting thing about hand-to-hand is how fast it levels up. You have to punch enemies a lot to kill them, and like how the strength of a spell doesn't affect how much experience it gives, the amount of damage a weapon doesn't affect how much experience you get in that weapon's skill. A strong weapon might only take 3 hits to kill something, but with hand-to-hand, you gotta hit him like 50 times for the guy to die, so you're gonna get a lot of experience. Unfortunately, hand-to-hand is governed by speed, so we're not gonna be getting a lot of strength levels by leveling up hand-to-hand, and we don't really need the speed. Oh well. After giving Hasfat the puzzle box, it's time to run an errand for Sharn Muzgob. She wants a skull from the Andrano Ancestral Tomb. We'll level up before going in, strength, luck, and 5 speed. I know speed probably isn't all that important to level up, but I can't just pass up 5 attribute points. Who just leaves a skull lying around? It's like they want it to be grave robbed. Although I guess having ghosts and skeletons guarding the place kinda means this stuff's not really lying around. Is it unethical to steal a skull if it means fulfilling a prophecy and saving the world? If it's not unethical, is it unethical that I don't know that's what I'm doing yet? Or is it simply fate and I'm bereft of free will anyway? Yeah. I won't kill the spirits guarding the stuff as a compromise. They can continue protecting everything else. And I'll leave the dagger as well. More info about the Nerevarine cult, more notes for Grandpa. While we're here, let's make a heal other spell 1 to 20 points for 1 second on touch. The touch part is important. You'll understand why. Next task, talk to Hulia, Adherenir, and Maramilo in the city of Vivek.
Kill.
Okay, Julia, you didn't even need my help. I don't know why. I guess he's the DPS and I'm the tank. That works. We escort him down the hall to Jobash's bookshop, where I grab a copy of The Progress of Truth. We could purchase one, but why buy when you can steal? We shoo away the taxman for Adherenir, who gives us more info about the 6th House cult, and finally Maramilo in the Temple Canton tells us about the dissident priests and their dissident beliefs. Oh, and we need to get a copy of The Progress of Truth for Caius. How convenient. It's like I've played this game before. And now Caius wants us to meet with an Ashlander in Aldrun, which I was calling Aldrun in previous videos, but I think it's Aldrun because in, I believe it's Arena, this same place was called Old Run. It was, I assume, the imperialized, I don't want to say anglicized because it's technically not Anglican, but you know what I mean. The Imperial's version of the place was called Old Run. The locals called it Aldrun. So Aldrun, not Aldrin. Yeah. So there's an Ashlander here named Hasaura Zain-Subami. He'll tell us what we need to know about the Ashlanders if we give him a gift. He likes poetry, so we get him a copy of Words of the Wind, which you can buy from the bookstore right here in Aldrun. I already had a copy with me before I met with him. It's like I played this game before. The Ursulaku camp is east of Kull. Not Kull, Kull. Somebody in the game says Kull. Just over the mountains. And that's where we're headed. Damn Nyx hounds. See, that's the struggle. Outdoors at night it's super dark, so I like waiting until the late morning, early afternoon before venturing through the wastes of Vardenfell, just so the video's visible. But waiting puts you at risk of being attacked. It's annoying. Did get another level though. 2 strength, 2 agility, 1 luck. When I was in Vivek, I had bought about a dozen bargain Rising Force potions from Danso and Dules. They're a restocking item in her shop, and she's right near the Civi intervention arrival location. Useful for getting over these pesky mountains. I'm coming for you. Never mind. As per Ursulaku customs, in order to meet with the Ashcan, I must first present myself to his Gulakan and complete the ancient ritual of sliding him a couple C-notes. So to prove ourselves to this tribe, the first time, because you need to do way more for these guys than the other Ashlanders, we need to get the Bonebiter Bow of Sul Senepul from the Ursulaku burial grounds. It drops from a ghost at the end of these skeleton-filled tunnels. It's also a dungeon that I always have the hardest time finding. I've played through this game so many times in the last 3 weeks and I still can't find this friggin' cave. First of all, skeletons have a lot of fatigue for some reason, or they take significantly reduced fatigue damage. I don't know why, but I didn't want to spend my night smacking bones. I opted to just run through the caves and rush to the Wraith of Sul Senepul at the end of the dungeon. Secondly, you might be concerned, how will I kill a ghost if they can only be damaged with enchanted weapons, silver weapons, or better? Well, you see, NPCs like ghosts that can't be harmed except with special weapons actually have a 100% resist normal weapons buff. That's why you can't kill them with, say, steel or iron. Those are normal weapons, and they have 100% resistance to them. But here's the thing. These fists, they ain't no normal weapons. These are arms. These are deadly armaments. But seriously, hand-to-hand isn't coded as a normal weapon type, so you can punch ghosts. Yeah. So here's the plan. Rush past all the skeletons and get to the ghost and start punching. The ghost itself isn't all that dangerous, so I don't have to worry too much about him. When the skeletons show up, however, I need to book it because, as it turns out, enchanted arrows do a lot of damage when you're not wearing a shirt. See? The ghost is way faster than the skeletons though, so if I run away and wait, it'll show up a lot sooner than the archers, and I can take a few shots at it before the bone boys return. This took a bit of time, but it worked out in the end. Let's grab this bow and return to Sul-Matul. We passed his test, making us a friend of the clan, and Nabani Mesa, the Urshulaku wise woman, gives us information about the Nerevarine to pass on to Caius. Now we need to go deal with the 6th house presence within the caverns of Il-Nibi just outside Narmok. Time to punch Dagoth Gares to death. A neat thing about hand-to-hand is that if you punch someone unconscious and they end up underwater, they'll take drowning damage the entire time they're knocked down. Il-Nibi is full of knee-deep water. You'd think it'd be easy to deal with all these ash slaves, but unfortunately they can't drown. I guess they count as some form of undead, which kind of makes sense because their life force is being sustained by the heart of Lorcan. When they die, they get brought back. Why would they need to breathe? But because there are a lot of enemies in this place and the purple shield around the ash slaves makes them a slog to kill, and their lightning does a fair bit of damage, I mostly just did a lot of running and strafing, avoiding everything. You see, unlike later installments of the Elder Scrolls games, NPCs in Morrowind don't follow you through doors, so if you run past a bunch of enemies and then load into a new cell, those enemies basically disappear. Sometimes though, you should go through the cave one by one. It's pretty easy to get overwhelmed when you can't kill things very fast. Okay, punching imps unconscious is one of the funniest damn things in this game. I feel so bad for loving this so much. So I know you don't have to punch them in the face when they stand back up. You could just punch them anywhere to knock them down. But how could you not just sock them in the jaw? Oh no! We got Corporus. I'd love to use the Gauntlets of Randagulf over here, but they're classed as heavy armor, so if we get hit while wearing them, we'll gain heavy armor experience and that would break the rules. We return to Caius and get the Dwemer Coherer from him as a gift to give to Dvaith Fear in hopes that he'll cure us of our Corporus. The millennia-old Telvanni wizard will only help us if we get a pair of boots from one of his inmates in the Corpusarium, the last living dwarf Yagrum Bagarn. There are some unused voice files for this guy, where he calls himself Yagrum Bagarn. Maybe that's the correct way of saying it. I'm not saying it that way. He's Yagrum Bagarn. Also, Pelagiad is apparently Pelagiad, like Bellagio. No, I'm saying Pelagiad. That just feels right. Anyway, last living dwarf in Tamriel. He gives us the boots that he fixed up for Dvaith, and we bring the boots to Dvaith, and he cures us of our Corpus with a potion. All the other patients he tried it on have died by drinking the potion, but for us it eliminated all but the positive effects of the condition, so we are now immune to disease and aging. Alright, now that we're one step closer to becoming the immortal incarnation of the Velothi's most revered warrior, Caius tells us he's heading back to Cyrodiil, and we're now heading up the Blades in Vardenfell. The last task he gives us is to meet with Marimilo again to learn what she's discovered about the dissident priests. But Vivek's squad of fascists dressed up as Indoril Nerevar himself had her arrested for daring to research heretical prophecies. She's up in Bardau, that floating threat reminding all of Vivek's subjects to never stop loving him, or else. Not because it's a prison for dissidents, but because it's literally a meteor that can and will do irrevocable damage to Morrowind. Anyway, we sprint through the jail, steal the key to Mara's cell, and give her a scroll of divine intervention so she can escape. She tells us to meet her at Holamayan, where a portal will open up at dawn. And yes, I know a portal is technically just a door, and this is technically a portal. But in a world with a brass giant powered by the beating heart of a god's corpse that can just know things out of existence, I think we should reserve the word portal for actual metaphysical manifestations connecting planes of reality, not oak planks with hinges. but that's just me. Kind of salty in this video today, I don't know why. We joined Gilvis Borello's book club and we are way behind, so he gives us a stack of liturgical documents to catch up on, and we bring it back to Nabani Mesa. But this still isn't enough for the Ursulaku. Sul-Matul wants us to get a Dagoth Cup, Corpus Weepings, and the Shadow Shield from Kogarun, which has been infested with Dagoth forces. So I could just grab the cup and the weepings from this room and leave, but I feel like I should kill Dagoth Gearer. It's not a fist-only run if I just sprint by all the enemies, so you know, I gotta fight some guys. Our first squid face guy. They don't have very much magicka, I learned, or at least the spells they cast cost a lot of magicka. They cast their green snot ball about 5 or 6 times, and then an icy spike ball a few times, and then they're spent. Their melee attacks have a long wind-up, so it's easy to run out of reach between each punch. Quite thematic for a martial monk, I think. Punch and dodge, punch and dodge. I picked up a new hat, by the way. I guess I could take this glass shield. Block isn't a miscellaneous skill, so I could use block, but you can't block while fighting unarmed, so it's kind of pointless, but I guess the extra armor is useful since I'm not wearing a shirt. I mean, there is a glass cuirass right here, but this is Chipmunk the Hunk. I can't cover up all this. Yeah, that's one way to solve your problems. Flame Atronachs don't have a lot of magicka either. They're good for about 4 fireballs and they're stuck using melee. Just dodge their balls and then punch them down. They T-pose when they fall too. Level 7. Honestly, doesn't matter what attributes I'm picking. Ooh, first Ash Vampire to fist fight. Similar strategy to the squid-faced fellas actually. Quick little ins and outs. Keeping out of melee distance except when I need to throw a punch. Keep doing that until he falls over, and then it's just a matter of time. Dude, just stop getting up. You can't win this, man. Excuse me? Are Bone Lords just JPEGs? Or do I punch it so hard it goes 2D? I think I can push it into the lava. Alright, grab these Daedric gauntlets, should sell for quite a bit, and the shield. Recall back to the camp. Oh, hey, I'm back. The third trial is to go to the Cavern of the Incarnate and chat with Azura. On the way, let's pop into the Narano Ancestral Tomb and deal with the Vampire Calvario. The Zainab Ashcan is going to ask us to do this anyway, so we'll just sort this while we're in the area. Just gotta lure this Halloween costume looking dude out first. Vampire shouldn't see me. Dead ghost? Alright, vampire. Jesus, I'm never ready for how fast these guys are. The difficult thing about fighting vampires is that they have an absorb health on touch spell, so it's vital that we knock him down as soon as he gets back up, otherwise he'll heal for a whole lot if he hits us. The overwhelming amount of damage I'm doing with every punch should make it clear that we do not want him healing whatsoever. God damn it. Finally, and we got a level out of it. Strength, luck, speed. Cavern of the Incarnate. Now to pick up the freak. We can't use any of the junk the Feld Incarnates have to offer, so there's no point even talking to them.
There is no escape.
And now we're off to the Hortator and Ashlander portion of the main quest. Oh, actually, before I forget, let me return to Sul-Matul and be named Nerevarine by him, formally. I assumed it was implied, but there's a game flag we gotta check. He gives us Teeth of the Ursulaku, a constant effect amulet with a 10% resist paralysis on it. Is better than nothing, so whatever, we'll use it. First up, tell Mora to buy exquisite clothing from Elnyan. Elignan? This is probably a real name in the real world, I'm just stupid. Elinyan. Elinin? Elinyan? Elanian? Ellie. So we'll buy some clothes from Ellie. We'll need them for the Zainab Nerevarine portion of the quest. But since we're closer, let's deal with the Ahamusa tribe first. All we need to do is bring their wise woman to Al-Daedroth to the north. You're supposed to go there, clear the place out, then return to bring her safely, but you can actually bring her with you on the first trip, run straight through the first room, ignoring the 2 enemies on the inside, and hopefully the wise woman won't aggro onto them. She'll follow you into the next room when she's close enough to the door, then if we run to the statue of Sheogorath, when she gets close enough, she'll mark the quest as complete, naming us Nerevarine. Ah, Sian Sintiev. It's tradition now, isn't it? I'd like your entire stock of Telvanni bug musk. I have need of it. Off to the Zainab. Normally you'd have to give Kaushad some fancy shoes before he's willing to talk to you about the Nerevarine prophecies, but our charismatic flair pushes his disposition high enough that we can skip the gift giving and get straight to the vampire killing. Calvario's already dead, so all that's left is to buy him a bride. Well, buy him a slave to have as a bride. Honestly, I don't know what's worse. Since I already got everything I need to make a slave look like a Telvanni noble, I just have to pay Seville Emain 1,200 drakes and escort Felora back to the camp. Oh my god, it's like that video with the guy smacking all the people that keep walking up to him. You know, Cowshad's not really the worst guy in all of this. As far as he knows, I convinced a Telvanni noblewoman, or at least a Telvanni family, to marry an Ashlander Ashcan, or to send off one of their daughters to marry an Ashlander Ashcan. I mean, arranged marriages are its own can of worms to deal with, but the slavery issue, that's all on the wise woman. This shit was her idea. I hope Felora stays safe. Although now that I think about it, Cowshad's dude's just a prick. Think about it, there's this prophecy that could end this blight that's been just totally overwhelming Vardenfell for hundreds of years. You come to him saying, hey, I might fulfill this prophecy, I might be able to stop all the blight storms, and you know what will prove that we're in the Nerevarine to him? If we get him a thick Telvanni GF. Redoran Hortator. It's a running simulator if there ever was one. Go to Aethan Serethi, rescue his son from Venom Manor, return to Aethan Serethi, who agrees to put in a good word to the other counselors, run to the other counselors to confirm their support, talk to Bolvar Venom, who challenges us to a duel in the Vivek Arena, and since we're going to Vivek to kick his ass, let's get started with the Hlalu Hortator stuff, since that's mostly in and around Vivek. Crassius Curio tells us about the other counselors and that his vote will cost 1,000 septums. Easy enough. On my way to the St. Ohm's Canton, I stopped by the Telvanni Enchanter because I know he has a slight chance to carry some rare scrolls like Ekash's Unhinging, a 100-point open scroll. Could be useful. He didn't have it this time, but what he does have is the Scroll of the Windwalker, invisibility for 60 seconds, and 500 points of levitate for 60 seconds. Expensive, almost 2k each, but we're in the final stretch now, and gold don't matter. I'll also buy some scrolls of Uth's Hand of Heaven as well. 50 points of levitate for 30 seconds. Good for getting around the Telvanni towers. Because I always get lost in Vivek, pretty sure that's a direct quote from Molag Bal, I wandered by the arena before reaching St. Ohm's, so I said, let's go kill a Redoran counselor while we're here. Orvis Dren, there are a few ways of handling him, but if we fortify our personality and drink, or is this perfume? Use Telvanni Bug Musk, we can raise his disposition without relying on speechcraft, and convince him to name us Hortator. If we didn't do this, we'd have to kill him. We probably could, but this is faster. With his vote of confidence, we just need to confirm Navani Ules and Valanda Omani's votes before returning to Vivek. Drambero is behind a locked door in the haunted house of St. Ohm's Canton. Finding him earns his vote. And Ingling, also in Ohms, will sell us his vote for 2,000 septums. Very cheap. Returning to Crassius cinches the deal, and we get a belt. You get it because cinch is a belt. On to Telvanni. This is where the Fortify Personality spell really does a lot of work. Aryan is happy to vote for us, but the other counselors are less amiable. We need Nelith's disposition above 70 for his vote. The spell alone isn't enough, but we can stack it with a Scroll of Hearwise or some Bug Musk for the extra boost. The same is true for Tharana and Dratha, who both need to be above 80. Lower for Dratha if you're a female character. Gothrin just has to die. He's actually kind of tough because of his 2 Jamora guards, and the 2 NPCs downstairs sometimes join the fight. I don't know why they don't always join the fight. I'm just glad this time they didn't. What makes Gothrin so tough is that the room is small, and he has a Paralyze on Touch spell. Pair that with his strong fireballs and his Jamora friends poking you with their weapons, and you're liable to take a lot of damage really fast. Once you take out the Jamora, you still have Gothrin to deal with, and he's a giant asshole who loves healing. You can't even interrupt the heal because he's not casting a spell. He's just drinking a potion. So you just gotta pray that you can knock him down before he has a chance to take a sip. Ugh, God damn it. Now we're the Telvanni Hortator. 2 things left. First, the Arabanimsum Nerevarine. It's an easy one since we don't actually have to leave the camp once we get there. In order to cement the power for the peace-loving members of the clan and be named Nerevarine, we need to murder the war-loving members of the clan. In the name of peace, I beat the ever-loving shit out of Ranabi, Ashu Ahi, Ulith Pal, and Ahaz. Did I say you could stand up? Get back down. I said, get down! By handing over the stuff we looted from the people we killed and in the name of peace to Hanamu, he accepts the title of Ashcan and names us a Nerevarine of the Arabanimsum tribe. Only thing left is to return to Aethan Serethi and lock in our Redoran Hortatorness. Excellent. Now we can talk with Tholar Suryani and arrange a meeting with the tyrant, with the god Vivek. Vivek gives us Wraithguard, and he outlines the plan for defeating Dagoth We don't need a god's plan. I have my own plan. We fly over the ghost fence outside of Aldrun using a Scroll of the Windwalker. Odrasal isn't too far from Aldrun, so that's the first vampire citadel we assault. We rush into Dagoth Odros' chamber and start wailing on him. And before too long, he's on the ground clipping through the wall when a fire Etchanak drops from the ceiling. I nearly died to a fireball, but I have plenty of exclusive health potions I bought from Nalkaria of Whitehaven. Rather than fighting the Etchanak, I focused on Odros, healing as needed, and once he died, I swiped the key and ran to claim Keening from the shrine behind the locked doors. Veminal is next. Take 2. We'll go a bit slower. Kill some of the enemies on the way so I can 1v1 Dagoth Vemin. As soon as he falls, his fate is sealed. Omaiwa mo shinderu. Nani? And then you're supposed to edit in an ear-splitting screech, but I'm not going to do that. I will take Sunder, however. Thank you, friend. Okay, I know I can just run through the facility cavern and avoid all the enemies, but I want to try something. Bone Lord in the lava. Noodle Snoot in the lava. Just a little more. Yes! Oh, he's still alive. Oh, whoop, whoop. Time to punch a god.
To this place where destiny is made.
That didn't take very long. And here's where we have to use a miscellaneous skill. Not blunt. Monks have blunt. Shortblade, however, is a miscellaneous skill. Azora won't give us a hug if we don't use Sunder-and-Keening to destroy Kagranak's enchantments on the heart.
I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive to put your full stop? This is the calmer intervention converting this place. Come, lay down your weapons. It is not too late for my mercy.
At least we don't get a level in Shortblade. Well, there we have it. Morrowind as a monk, fighting only with his bare hands, except at the end. You should definitely try it out. It can be a bit tedious sometimes, but there's something satisfying and hilarious about decking people in the face just as soon as they stand up from your unyielding pummeling, only to be thrown back to the ground for the pummeling to continue.